you a young woman who has taken a really bold step in life, and like Seth and Katie, she is exploring what it means to be called into ministry. And so tonight is her night where she's gonna take the step and share a message with you. And I just hope that you would give her the same attention that you would give Dan or myself or anyone else. And so, fellas, ladies, I introduce to you Heather. Heather, take it away.
Hello, hello. Well, first off, as you just heard, my name is Heather, for those of you that don't know me. And I just want to say welcome. 621 is a really special place, and I am so happy that each and every one of you decided to come tonight. I'm not sure what it took for you to get here, whether it was having to get your homework or your chores done, or maybe your parents didn't feel like taking you to another activity, but I believe that God has something special for each and every one of you here tonight. So thank you. And I just pray that you guys use your ears to hear, your hearts to feel, and your eyes to see. So last week we wrapped up the series Battlefield, where we learned how to have healthy conflict in our relationships and hear what Scripture has to say to learn how to do it with love, grace, and mercy. Tonight we are diving into a brand new series called Sweet Tea, where we will be learning how to recognize and apply our talents, time, and treasures to glorify God and expand His kingdom. Because God built you, and He knows you, and He gave each and every single one of you a special gift, or several gifts. So I pray that you guys understand that we feel most alive when we find out what that sweet spot is. And the idea of this series is, once again, just for you to recognize your time, talent, and treasures in a way that God has intended us to. So in 1 Peter 4:10, we are reminded that as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. My hope is that you will have this scripture memorized by week 3. If you come see me and you have it down without looking at anything and you put some extra emotion into it, I will have a special gift for you. Yes, that is a challenge. I hope you choose to accept it. So let's get the ball rolling on the first T, which is talents. And this is one of my favorites. As you just heard from Steve, I am an intern here at Life Church. And this is my first time ever doing something like this. Getting up in front of a crowd and speaking. And I'm not just speaking on anything, you guys. This is the living word. I'm not sure if you know this, but the Bible's been around for centuries. And this is kind of a big deal for me, because I truly do not feel worthy of standing up here. So with that, I ask each of you for your patience, for your understanding, and to not pick your nose while I'm talking, because I can see all of you and it's super awkward. And to just let God speak to you through me. Because once again, I believe that He has something special for each of you here tonight. When I was researching and preparing this message, it stirred up a lot of emotions in me. Because this topic is everything that I advocate for. I believe that God has placed me on this earth to guide people to find out the unique talents, strengths, gifts, and abilities that He has given them, and encourage them to put them into action in this world. This is a huge step of obedience for me right now. So once again, you're going to hear me saying it over and over again. Thank you. As for being here as I explore the call and develop the talents I believe God has entrusted to me, and learn how to use them to expand His kingdom and bring Him glory. So if someone was to show you a movie of your life right now, today, what would they see? Where do you spend all your time and your energy? If you were to show me my life before I made my commitment to Christ, I would be curled up in that corner, too scared to see what was being played. You see, it was not until 4 years ago that I even knew who God was. To me, Jesus Christ was a cuss word, not an example that I needed to follow. I found my identity in entertaining people, being the center of attention, one-upping people in conversations, preaching things I was not practicing, and spending money on things like my image, keeping my image up to portray a person that truly wasn't me. My motivation behind my dangerous desires was to be famous, to be known, to be liked and hated by millions. I bought into everything that was being sold around me daily. The world told me that I needed to be the center of attention, the star of the show, stand out in the crowd, and create an image that was unique and different than anything I had ever seen. Hence, a lot of the crazy tattoos that I have. It's a lot of pain. The thing is, the more my popularity grew, the more alone I felt. I had thousands of people interacting and engaging with me on my social networks, but I felt isolated from the real world, like I had no real friends. I was so consumed by wanting the world to see all of the different things that I could do that I actually disconnected from the world. My relationships suffered. My health suffered. I lost who I was supposed to be, trying to be everything for everyone else. You see, when we glorify ourselves, we will never be able to reach our true purpose. Just like you guys, whether you choose to own it or not, you're all in different seasons in life, and we all at some point become extremely selfish, and we lose sight of God and who He created us to be. God does not desire for us to compare ourselves to others, to be scrolling through our news feed on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and be putting ourselves in other people's lives and thinking that, I want that. How come I don't have that? That is not of God. He doesn't desire for us to compare ourselves to somebody else's looks and say, I want her nose to be skinnier like her, or to have her butt. It's not what it's about. It's not of God. God doesn't desire for us to have anxiety, to be crawling in our own skin when we're in front of people. He doesn't desire for us to inflict pain on ourselves, to bite your nails, to take a razor to your skin. That's not from God. He definitely does not desire for you to fear being truly known, to put on a mask based on the different groups that you fall in. And he 110% does not desire for you to fear failure, because with failure comes perseverance, growth, and learning. When we buy into these lies, into the lies of this world, it distracts us from the purpose that God has for us. Thankfully, we have an all-knowing, all-loving God that equips us with tools we need to go up against this world's views. And I don't know why I'm always so surprised when I can find scriptures that match perfectly to today's issues for me. In Matthew 25:14 through 30, Jesus speaks to us through a parable. And if you don't know what a parable is, it is Jesus telling us a story to teach us a lesson. So the lesson is on talents, hence the title being the parable of the talents. Yeah, I know. It's pretty awesome that it's on the exact topic that we're talking about right now. So let's dive in. In verse 14, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. So a long trip in those days wasn't like us hopping in our car and going from point A to point B, or maybe going up north and taking a 4-hour drive. For them, they were using their God-given legs to walk on or jumping on a donkey. And I'm not sure if you guys know, but donkeys are pretty slow. So it took them weeks, months, years to get from one point to the other. So when they say a long trip, and this guy gave them time to handle the money that he's giving them. So let's jump back in. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it into proportion to their abilities. When I first heard this, I was like, why do they have different amounts? Why does Tom get 5 and Tim get 2 and Sally get 1? That didn't seem very right or fair to me. But then I read that last line again, divided it into proportion to their abilities. This does not mean he loves one more than the other. Perhaps he knew that if he gave them more than they could handle, it'd be overwhelming for them, and they wouldn't succeed. So he left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with the 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used the money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver, and I have earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Now the servant who had the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." I'm not sure about you guys, but my love language is verbal affirmation. So when I hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," my heart starts beating a little bit faster. And the fact that he gets more responsibility after he was faithful with the amount that he was given, and then he gets a party on top of that. I know there's some people in here that love to party. So, right? That's what I'm saying. So let's find out what happened to the 3rd servant who buried his money. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money into the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver." And are you ready for this, guys? If you were not listening before, I beg you to listen now. "To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away." And it gets ugly. "Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Dang. It's a pretty intense to Jesus' story, isn't it? Why does he paint such a vivid picture for us to grasp onto? In the first verse, it said that this story is describing what the kingdom of heaven will be like. I believe that this story is illustrating what it will be like on our judgment day, when God throws up the movie clip of our lives. What will he tell you? Will he say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant"? Or will he say, "You wicked and lazy servant"? For me, I can only hope and pray that I can say these words. Irma Bombeck says it best. When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left and could say, I used everything that you gave me. How many of the things you currently spend your time and your energy on will you actually be rewarded for? Are you using your talents, your gifts, and your abilities to glorify yourself or God? Are you serving others with your talents? The only thing that is eternal in this life is relational, is people. None of the materialistic things that you guys hold desperately onto are coming with you. Your iPhone that you can't live without, your video games, that stuff's not coming with you. So how do we do this? How do we ensure that we are told, "Well done, my good and faithful servant"? How do we find out what our talents, gifts, and abilities are? I know that there are several of you in here tonight that don't believe you have any talents, and that is a lie. Straight up lie. Exactly. He is waiting patiently for you to look in the mirror and give yourself praise, to stop tearing yourself apart, to admire who he created you to be, to recognize the talents he has given you so that he can start giving you more. And let me make something clear for all the competitive people out there. It is not a competition. It's not a challenge to see who has more than the other or to outdo one another. We are all on the same team, going after the same dream. So the first step we can do to discovering our talents is to recognize it and pray. Get on your knees and talk to God about what he has given you. He will show up in your lives. He'll guide you to people that are going to show you and tell you about who you are and who they see. And the easiest place to start discovering your talents is identifying the areas you're naturally gifted at. When and where do you feel the most alive? Ask people that are closest to you what they think your strengths are. Are you a great listener? Are you a strategic thinker? Do you challenge people? Are you a peacemaker? A good teammate? Do you dance? Do you sing? Do you act? Are you a good writer? A good storyteller? Recognize it. And after you recognize it, you're going to study it. Research it. You guys, we have access to one of the greatest tools of all time, and we continue to abuse it, myself included at times. The internet. It's right at the palm of our hands. You can type into Google personality types, purpose, what God has planned for me. There are some great things on the internet besides your social network apps, taking selfies of yourself, which I'm an expert at, but I don't have to go there. Instead, so after we recognize it, after we study it, what are we going to do? We're going to practice it. Put some time into developing your talents. The most influential people spent years putting time into their talents and their crafts. You can naturally be good at something, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be practicing to get better. One of the quotes I put on my Letterman's jacket is, "It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put into the hours." And that was always one of my practice tees when I was playing sports in high school. And that was a big thing for me because I was always good at putting hours into my sports, but I was never really good at putting good effort into my hours. So challenge you with that. So Steve talked a little bit about Geared. How many of you guys know what Geared is? Woo, it's quite a few. That makes my heart smile. So Geared is our service opportunity here in Life Students, and it means giving everything and reaching every direction. This is a great place to practice figuring out who God created you to be. We do different service opportunities every single month, whether it be physical activities or relational activities. And this month, we are going to be going to rake leaves in a Canton neighborhood. And I know a lot of you guys' first reaction is like, why don't they rake their own leaves? That was my first reaction at first too. But the impact that we saw last year was something that is only of God. We spent 4 hours breaking up a neighborhood, and there was a couple people that later on asked a neighbor what had happened to their yards, and he said that it was his church that came through, and he had only been coming to Life Church for a couple weeks, but he was honored to claim that our student ministry came through and helped that neighborhood out. What we didn't know was that the families that we helped clean up were going through some really hard times. And that simple act of service encouraged them to find and recognize the love that is in this world. And they started coming to Life Church. It's a huge difference that we made in that 4 hours of taking up our our Saturdays. So the next project is November 19th. I just hope and pray that you guys get on board with that. The more people we have, the more yards we can clean up. And it's not about having too many people. We will figure it out, or God will provide. So please, please sign up and recognize your gifts that way. So after we recognize it, after we study it, after we practice it, what are we going to do? We're going to use it. That kind of goes into tying in with Geared. And also just going into your schools and asking your teachers, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Asking your parents to do something for them without having them ask you. That's a big deal. Step outside your comfort zones and inconvenience yourselves for people, because like I said, the only thing that's going with you on our last day is our relationships, not our things. So as I kind of wrap everything up here, I want to tell you guys something. If we truly grab onto everything that I talked about and recognize our talents, our time, and our treasures, we can create change in this world, the change that we desire to see. I'm not sure if you guys know or really even see all of the stuff that's going on around you, but it's pretty ugly out there. And the chaos can be consuming, and there's times when even I felt like, it doesn't matter what I do. There's not going to be a change. It's crazy. But that is a complete and total lie, because we can make a difference in this world, and we can do it by showing light and love, and that love comes from Jesus Christ. When I was not following God, I got lost in the world, lost in the fame, lost in the idea of fortune, that how many likes I had on my pictures proved my worth. I thought that being in magazines and having a fan base, that I would somehow be significant. But what actually happened was I was filling a God-sized hole with materialistic things, and I was glorifying me. The reason why all of the adults are in this room tonight is for you guys. I'm not sure if you understand that. There's better things that sometimes I can be doing on my Wednesday, but I am here because the next generation is our future. You guys in this room are our future. You're our next doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, mechanics, landscapers. We need you. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but everyone's looking down now. Nobody's looking up. So I challenge you to truly find out your talents and own them. Each of your small group leaders has a little slip, and it's some resources that I have found helpful in finding my personality traits, my strengths, my attributes. So I pray that you guys take the couple personality tests and you share them. Let us know what you guys discover. We are here for you. And we would love to come alongside you and encourage you in pursuing those gifts. So before I get off stage, I want to leave you with one final question. And I know you guys all had the silver coins on the table. That was a little gift for me. Most of you guys probably ate them. It's cool. It's chocolate. That you can kind of have a visual of that being the talent that you're going to go out into the week with. So what is one talent that you are going to use this week to glorify God with? And share that. Let us know. So I'm going to close in prayer because I'm feeling like I need to, so I'm going to do that. Everyone bow their heads, please. Father, I just thank you so much for each and every single student and adult in this room tonight. We are so grateful that you have sacrificed your one and only Son for our lives so that we can get a fresh start each day and that we get a chance to figure out and discover who you called us to be and own it and make a difference in this world. I pray for anyone who is lost and feeling broken and feeling discouraged by things that are going on in their lives, Lord. I pray that we can surrender all of those hurts, habits, and hang-ups to you and not let them drag us down. And I just thank you for letting me do this. This was not an easy task, and I'm going to let Steve take over from there.
All right. Amen. Yeah, give Heather a round of applause. Good job. Thanks, Heather. Awesome. Good job. Okay, so real quick, our band's going to come up and lead us in one closing song. But before they do, let me just encourage you. Listen, not all of us discover our talents quickly. Sometimes it takes a little more time. Here's the key to that, though. Pursuit of God, finding out who he is and his character will reveal that. And in relationships, Heather talks about how relationships matter. In relationship, we discover those things too. You're in small groups for a reason. Talk to your small group leaders. Ask them what they see in you, and then believe them. Don't dismiss them, believe them. Okay? The greatest gifts that we'll ever receive will always be the gifts God has given us. And that's life. So let's stand up. Let's join the band in our last song.
To join the sun so long before our lives, to raise our voice alone, heaven and earth alike. We've seen your faithful your mercy without end, the King who bled and died, a God who sacrificed, be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Unto you, the slain and risen King, we lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. And all through this life we lead, on through eternity, our endless praise we cry. Jesus be glorified. Sing that again. Jesus be glorified. Enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. And to you the same risen King, we lift our voice to heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. Sing highest praises. Highest praises, Lord of all. 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 Be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Unto you the slain and risen King, we lift our voice in heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. Be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Unto you the slain and risen King, we lift our voice in heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. Be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Unto you, slain and risen King, we lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. One more time, just your voice says, be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Unto you, the slain and risen King, we lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all.
All right. Hey, give it up for our band real quick. Yeah. Hey, everybody.